Everyone this evening to our latest virtual trustee forum. My name is Steve Mara. I am your president this year, Michigan Dental Association, and I'd like to welcome everybody. Tonight we have several of our board members as panelists, myself, of course, as well as our immediate past president, Dr. Margaret Gingrich, our Speaker of the House, Dr. Todd Christie, our Secretary Treasurer, Dr. Eric Knudsen, one of our newer trustees, Christine Mason, as well as, of course, our Executive Director, Karen Burgess. And our trustee forums, our virtual trustee forums, are a great opportunity for us to communicate and give an idea of what we'll be discussing at our upcoming board meeting, in our upcoming board meeting being the end of this week, Thursday and Friday, and to again, attempt to really involve our members and our delegates so you know what's going on. You have the opportunity to look at our agenda, give us some feedback or any concerns that we may have not thought of or perspectives we can bring on your behalf so we have the most successful and productive board meeting possible. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move into our agenda. I would like to ask everyone to please use the Q&A function. We will be taking questions toward the end, and you may also mention your question if you had a particular speaker on that topic for whom you would like to address the question. So that being said, I'm going to get things started off looking at the highlights of our upcoming board agenda with our first topic, which is our generative discussion. And our generative discussion, not only at our board meetings do we accomplish the business of the Michigan Dental Association, we also as a board look at development. You know, how can we be the best and optimal board members we can be? How can we be the best board to represent the Michigan Dental Association on your behalf? And so we look at not just, you know, our business items, but, you know, try to be forward thinking, particularly looking at topics in a proactive fashion, so we're not in a reactive sort of mode, but actually have given some thought and discussion and debate toward topics before they come on. And for everyone who's been around lately paying attention, there's a lot going on, and so we certainly need to be in a proactive rather than strictly a reactive fashion. So that being said, our upcoming generative discussion has to do with what will be the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic? And of course, you know, that's not a very easy question to come up with an answer because nobody has a crystal ball. We're all living in unprecedented times. This is something very new for all of us. And toward that, some of the highlights of this discussion that we'll be doing a deeper dive include, as you might imagine, what is the role of technology? So 10 technology trends to watch in the COVID-19 pandemic. As many of us during our emergency treatment only phase got to do a little deeper dive into, you know, over the phone and teledentistry and over the computer types of appointments with patients. And certainly that will be an ongoing manner in which we will conduct some patient visits. Another area will be how COVID-19 is reshaping medicine according to experts. We'll be looking at various experts in the topic in this area of medicine, how things are going, what their recommendations are, what's in their crystal ball. As I said, no one has all the answers, but it's good to dialogue with those folks who have done some deep study. The next area being social economic implications of COVID-19. I'm sure this is a very you know, hot area for everybody. You know, what's going on with our patients? What's going to happen to our practices? Are we going to be seeing patients? What's going on? And then lastly, as a segue toward that, COVID-19, what is the economic impact specifically on dental practices? And as many of us heard today on our ADA call that we, as leadership, are on a regular basis with our ADA colleagues, we heard that predictions include approximately close to 27 to 30% decrease this year in overall production, which kind of makes sense since we're, you know, closed down for 2.5 months for most of our care that we normally see in practices. and that will certainly most likely translate into a decrease in our overall collections this year, and also forecasted as potentially a 20% decrease in revenue next year, in the next calendar year. So, certainly that is going to be something to look out for, but those are some of the topics we'll be discussing. And so with that being said, I would like to turn things over to our next topic, strategic planning, to Ms. Karen Burgess.
Thank you, Steve. Hi. Yes, it certainly has been a tumultuous year, and I have just a few comments to make about our strategic planning process. Heavens knows that the COVID-19 pretty much upended what we were doing. So let me share my screen with you. There we go. You should be seeing a slide that just says strategic plan update. If one of my colleagues could nod at me, if that is what you're seeing. Thank you. Fantastic. So I call this slide Life Upended because we were in the last year of our 2016 to 2020 plan. And over the course of the last few years, we have been working on 4 overarching goals. One is a member value goal. No surprise, we want to deliver a lot of great member value to all our members. Member participation goal has to do with increasing the number of people who take advantage and are active members at the Michigan Dental Association. We have an organizational sustainability goal, which goes primarily to financial issues. And then, of course, the capacity goal, which has to do with our ability to meet member needs, both from a staff and a volunteer standpoint. And we also include support for the components and the components' ability to deliver value as part of our capacity goal. Well, if you watched my video for the House of Delegates, one of the things you would have seen was a compilation of all the wonderful things we were doing in February as we were wrapping up our last year of our plan, and how much we had to pivot and swivel and change as a result of the pandemic. So the 2016 through 2020 plan, we will be doing a little touch base for the board, but we're actually looking more towards the development of our 2021 to 2025 plan. You know, the board has been very engaged in environmental scanning over the last year. And the example that Dr. Merrill gave of the generative discussion on how the pandemic is going to be affecting dentistry and the association over the next 2 to 3 years really influences a great deal how we're going to be approaching our strategic planning, because we have to be aware of how the impacts are going to occur, but we also have to look down the road. So we've been doing these environmental scanning topics. There's a special area on that the board has to have all these articles and information for them. We also have some Google alerts, and you can set, if you're Google savvy, you can set Google alerts to alert you to all kinds of articles and media that is happening on specific topics. So we follow a number of different topics, and I compile those for the board's reference. And then, of course, seeking member input. We've had a lot of input from members on an informal basis, but we also do a lot from the standpoint of surveys and that kind of thing. So we've been prepping for 2021 to 2025. The pandemic has had a little short-term impact on us. We had planned to have our strategic planning retreat on July 10th, recognizing that that's not likely to be a good time to get together in person. We've pushed that off a little bit from July to October. We will be conducting a strategic planning survey, having a pre-planning webinar with the board and some other stakeholders in September, doing our retreat in October, developing the strategic plan, document itself in November, and we expect it to go before the board in December. So we are going to be using an outside facilitator to help us with that process, and that is Bill Pelusi from Association Options. So that is what I have to say on strategic planning. But the next thing that's influenced by the pandemic is our public education campaign. And that will be for Dr. Todd Christie to tell you about.
Good evening. Glad to be with you again. I feel like I've missed Zoom over the past 2 months with you all. Good to be back on. All the smiles that I see there are enough to tell me it's true. But one of the last things we met on from when the board met back in February is going to come up here regarding this as an informational report from the public education campaign from what's gone on from March till June. First, obviously, there was a campaign regarding COVID-19 with the emergency and urgent care. So immediately after the recommendation from member dentists came out to treat only emergency and urgent patients, there was a new landing page that was created on the smilemichigan.com to help the public understand what an emergency is and direct them to their MDA dentist and not to go to the emergency room. That ran from from March 24th through May 22nd. There were millions of ad impressions and a significant, if you can believe it, increase in website traffic to smilemichigan.com. And I think that also that some of our MDA members learned as to what the difference and what an emergency was from that website too. That might have been 500,000, who knows. The next part we had that came up in a campaign that we voted on came from, it was the registered dental assistant shortage. It was a campaign that we started back then. It was one of the last votes we took in February. It was a paid search ad campaign that targets 15 to 20-year-olds in Michigan and to look and educate and encourage them to look at the registered dental assistant as a career. We approved it in February, and that came from the work of the MDA Dental Assisting Work Group, or DOG. And I know that the chair of the DOG is on the call tonight. Thank you to Dr. Johnson and his team and that great group to get all this work done. Now, this ad campaign geo-targeted these 15 to 20-year-olds that were within 50 miles of one of our 7 CODA-approved dental assisting programs in the state. Also, part of this campaign created another special landing page on Smile Michigan that promotes the advantages of the career of RDA, as well as a link to all of the programs that had enrollment. They've already looked at conversions from the targeting by clicking through the programs have started. And a couple programs already have 3 or 4 people that have clicked through to look at registering and through there. And this is a big thing. Actually here, and I'll tell you from our local area, we have one of those 7 CODA programs. And 3 weeks into COVID, our director here was told that the dean wanted to decrease the size of this program by 2/3 and close one campus here. And so the information that was from this has helped me. And actually, I'm looking to have a meeting with the dean of the college, along with the provost and vice president coming up in the next week. This is the kind of information we need to get out there to our members too, but also to the public. In this campaign, we're looking forward to seeing these results on an ongoing basis. The last part that we have here of the campaign was dental care safety. So when offices reopened, the MDA launched the dental care safety campaign focused on building confidence in seeking dental care treatment. We had search ads, social media, and display ads as well. 2 new landing pages on smilemichigan.com. The first was the dental care update page, had an overview of what to expect when the patients would go to the dental office, an excellent infographic that addressed the new processes that their MDA dentist was going to implement to help protect them. The second part of the page was an infection control landing page. This is a deeper dive into what the MDA dentists are going to do to limit the spread of infectious disease in the practice and how the dentists are prepared to treat patients as safely as possible. Also, part of the overall with the dental care safety was conducting an online poll to gain insight on Michiganders' thoughts about seeking dental treatment now. So there's a lot going on, and I think if you haven't looked through to these, I will promote it. Go take a look and download that stuff. I'm guessing that every person, all 25 of us on here, have downloaded that infographic and printed it off to have at their office or put on their Facebook page. And kudos to the team at MDA for the work on all 3 of these programs. They're going to help member dentists succeed and going forward. So excited. Obviously, I get excited about these advertising. I think they're a great way to promote what we do and get information out there. So I want to turn the talk now over to our new trustee, Dr. Christine Mason.
Thank you, Dr. Christie. Today I'm going to be talking about the NDA Insurance and Financial Group has done some investigating on in-office dental plans. There are 2 factors that I think are valuable from this investigation. One, there are people that have existing plans that you may have individually, and this is to provide a benefit to patients that don't necessarily have insurance, but it is not insurance, so let's clarify that. But then two ways that you could go about that is develop something yourself or have a third party help guide you. And the Michigan Dental Association has created a great packet called Guide to In-Office Dental Plans. It's on the MDA website. Under Government and Insurance, it's at the bottom, and that has several pages of a guide to show you how to set that plan up. It has samples of a contract, information that you could provide to the patient, what would be covered, and you can create the program that you want and self-select what would be best for your particular office and your situation. A second part of this, as a complement to this, the MDA IFG group has done some investigating with third parties, and they were able to get a response from seven response from third parties regarding their programs. They ended up with 2 semifinalists, and then they actually went through and did a test run with volunteers to see how that platform would develop and user friendliness, participation, etc. And they have, at this point, chosen a company that's called Quality, and they are going to be reviewing that this Saturday, Friday and Saturday, to determine that Michigan Dental Association will go ahead and endorse them. There is a minimum cost per patient, per plan, per year, but there is no direct cost to the MDA. Also, there's no setup cost at this point, and it's just a per patient per month plan that you can develop with Quality Dental, where they would help you set up the whole policy. So this looks like this resolution is going to be evaluated this weekend, and the MDA, one more piece of information on that I think is valuable to know. It's providing a 10% discount to the members. It offers a low flat fee per participant, and it will pay a 10% royalty on sales back to the Michigan Dental Association. So this could be a win-win for those of us that would want to take part in this and for the MDA. And also, I think, as Karen was talking about, and Dr. Christie too, with changes in insurance right now, and with some people maybe losing jobs, maybe not having the same benefits, this could be a real opportunity for you individually at your office to create a plan for people who maybe just don't have those benefits. Again, not insurance, but providing a benefit to patients that might be looking for a way to get some cost reductions. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Eric Knudsen for the I-Core endorsement.
Thank you, Dr. Mason. Good job, too. I'm talking about the electronic prescription transmission endorsement recommendation from the MDA IFG. Beginning in January 2021, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid are going to require that any controlled substance prescription be transmitted to the pharmacy by electronic means. So the board requested that the MDA services look into options for this. As I'm sure all aware, MDA or Michigan has required prescribers to use MAPs when you're doing a controlled substance. And one of our concerns is that any of these electronic prescribing programs would work with MAPs onto it. Many of our practice management programs contain an e-prescribability, but most of them do not integrate with the AwareRx and MAPs on the fit. And to get that combined so that there is a functionality with it, it can be a high cost. So we wanted to find something for our members that would be affordable and a good service on it. So there was the MDA Services did a request for proposal. They sent it out to 6 e-prescribing companies. 3 responded to us. Of the 3 that responded, only I-Core RX was able to integrate with MAPs, and so that was in the same time they're also offering a member discount and a royalty to the MDA. I-Core RX is also endorsed by 4 other dental associations, and you may remember that MDA endorses the I-Core Connect for our email encryption services, which is also another good member benefit on it. What they're offering us is they're going to offer their services at a 43% discount to MDA members, which brings it down to $45 per provider per month. There's also a controlled substance module that is offered to MDA members for an additional $9. The list price for that package would be $95 for the full package if we did not have the discount. So it's a big benefit for our members. There's the other good part of it is the royalty that's coming back to the MDA is a 10% royalty, and that would be paid quarterly. And what kind of similar to what Dr. Mason was talking previously, the MDA IFG committee is going to meet, or they met on the June 8th meeting, but they're going to meet this week to vote on recommending to advance that to us, to the full board on it. And then so hopefully they'll get a mutual agreeable contract, and we'll be able to have that forwarded to us at our meeting. We'll be meeting on June 26th with that. And that's about it with that. Good service to us. And I know what I checked and looked into with our service provider for the dental software, and it was much more expensive than this. So I think this is something that's a good option. With that, I would like to hand it off to Dr. Margaret Vineyards on the student debt policy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to talk about the student debt policy that we will be looking at from CGIA that was offered up. As many of you know, student debt has a wide range of impact on dentistry, and it affects where a lot of potential or new graduates may set up, whether they buy a practice or they don't, what type of insurances they will take, and often this debt goes well into our years of practice. And at this current time, the MDA does not have any recommendations if laws were to be made. So CGIA felt that if we had a policy on the books that if a law came by, then it wouldn't have to go through the board or go through CGIA, whether we would determine whether to support a law or not. So they wanted a recommended policy that would have, that would be looking at reducing the cost of dental school tuition, support favorable financial policies such as refinancing opportunities, reducing interest rates and tax incentives, and support policies and opportunities that provide loan forgiveness and or repayment of scholarships and grants. Recommended action items would be to educate potential students on the complete cost of attending dental school. So that's including the tuition, living expenses, instrument rental, everything. So they know what they're getting into before they enter dental school. Educating members, particularly new dentists and dental students, about financial planning and provide financial planning resources such as debt workshops, lunch and learns at the School of Dentistries, and things like that by people that can give them real workable solutions. And also give them, provide financial planning and contacting the dental students and also doing it at grade level specific. And then developing a comprehensive list of available student debt resources, including loan repayment and scholarships. So we'll be looking forward to hopefully a good discussion on this and see if there's anything else that may be brought up to CGIA. With that, I will be moving on to membership update with Ms. Karen Burgess. Karen?
Thank you, Dr. Gingrich. Yes, I'm happy to give you an update on where we are with our membership. I will say that one of the impacts of the pandemic is that we have had a lot of member communication, a lot. And we've had some frustration on the part of members when they could not wait to open or they were fearful of opening. Sometimes they would be frustrated on either direction. And we're also getting a lot of compliments from members who say, oh, that webinar was fantastic. It was just what I needed. Or I've been calling Brandy Ryan and Jody Schaefer about my HR issues and they're giving me such great advice. Thanks for your help with all the different things that we're helping people with. So, you know, when the pandemic hit, we were really quite on course for another record-breaking year in terms of membership participation. I will say that when you all went home and quit going into the office, somehow your eye was taken off the ball, and some of the people who were had not yet paid their dues kind of put it off a little bit. So right now, our active membership is 4,135 member dentists. It's about 100 fewer than we had last year at this time. And we're actually on our way up for sure. because as people have gone back to the office, they've started to pay their dues. But one of the things that we've noticed also is that we had quite a few people who said, oh, when is the latest that I can pay this? So we have been extending the time to allow people through an installment payment program to pay their dues through September. And that has seemed to be very helpful for many people. We're also moving into our half-year recruitment period, and that's a prorated dues. So we expect to see a pickup in both renewals and recruitment moving forward. One thing we are noticing, and you may know this in your own dental community, I am seeing a lot of retirements. We were seeing quite a few last year, and I think sometimes because the market was improving last year, a number of people who had felt uncertain about whether they should go ahead and retire or not. Towards the end of last year, we had a lot of people retire in November and December. This year, we're definitely seeing the people who were closed down due to the pandemic, and some of them are saying, you know, I'm at the end of my dental career. This is all a big hassle for me, so I'm just not going to reopen. And we are processing quite a few retirements. Of course, that means that those folks are generally maintaining their membership, but definitely not as active members, but as retirees. So we are seeing a little stress at that end of the career cycle, I guess you'd say. And where we're seeing, in addition, a little bit of stress, and in some cases a lot of stress, is the class of 2020. I don't know how many of you have dental students or new grads in your lives, but the class of 2020 was really impacted quite severely by the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, both our dental schools severely limited the clinical care that they were providing, and that had an impact, of course, on the students as well, because they were not completing their clinical requirements in quite so timely a way. In addition, the licensure exams were canceled, and only now are we seeing a licensure exam scheduled for U of M, for example. Fortunately, part of the executive orders that had been passed or put in place by Governor Whitmer directly addressed anyone whose profession required licensure, that kept them from moving into that profession because of canceled exams. So luckily, both our dental school graduates and the dental hygiene program graduates will have until the end of the year to pass an exam, while in the meantime being able to go ahead and move into practice. We're also hearing, though, that some of the class of 2020 who are moving into postdoc programs, you know, there's a little uncertainty about when will those programs start. And in addition, for people who were moving into practice, we are seeing both dentists who are very eager for associates to come in and help them with this pent-up demand, and also other people whose jobs and associateships may not be as on the time frame that they expected. So the class of 2020 is definitely challenged. And where that affects us in terms of our membership numbers is that the more people that we keep in our state who graduate from our dental schools, and the more of those folks who transition into active membership between graduation and the end of the year, the more active members we have. So we want to be helpful to those new grads as much as we can, and we hear that they are grateful for all that we are doing, but it's still a very challenging and tumultuous time, especially under the pandemic. So right now, our market share is at about 70.8%. Usually it does rise throughout the course of the year as we put students in, new graduates go in, the number of retirees hopefully will stabilize, And we are aiming again to be over 75% by the end of the year. So that's where we are. Thank you so much for the opportunity to give you the update.
Thank you to all our panelists. I would like to now open things up for the Q&A portion. If anyone has any questions or comments, certainly we appreciate your perspective and your feedback that we can take to our upcoming board meeting as well. I know we do have one comment here from Mark Johnston, who wants to thank Todd personally for the shout out and wants to note that they have a great group of members on the dog committee. Thank you, Mark, for saying that. I certainly, in my own mind, spending time with Mark Johnston, it's like a word association. When I heard Mark Johnston, I hear that Who Let the Dogs Out song, just a previous board sort of thing. But Mark, thank you for your comment and for all your help. That being said, I don't see any other Q&As, so that means our panelists did an excellent job. Certainly we do appreciate feedback. We're here to work on behalf of our members and make our association the best it can be. So if you do have any follow-up questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. And that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for being on this forum this evening. Again, our panelists did a great job, and everyone have a good evening.